As a senior cybersecurity practitioner, what would be your first thoughts if your executive leadership team announced that they would begin a strategy of digital transformation? I suspect that some might just nod and return to their focus on their security framework. Others might search for some thought leadership online about digital transformation, see that there simply isn't much, and conclude that Infosec can carry on with business as usual. The wise cybersecurity practitioners would quickly learn that digital transformation isn't about building digital products, but building customer experience through products and interactions that customers love. Most of the experience that we would think about would be on the web or mobile or other technical things. But there are customer experiences in many organizations that might be in the physical world too. If we think about events or other customer touch points in which technology is involved, there might be a whole slew of opportunities for the Infosec team to provide value as part of that interaction and do it in a way that customers love. The wise cyber practitioner would quickly realize that the standard Infosec approaches leadership and interactions with other teams probably are less likely to be successful in the product-driven world of digital transformation. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Tony Gray. I'm a CISO and also the host of the Opinionated Security Podcast. Welcome to episode 12. Today we're going to talk about 4 ways that Infosec teams can add value to digital transformation. Let's jump right in. Number 1, you're likely to have to change your security model and probably going to have to change the way that your program interacts with other teams within your organization. Digital transformation means that the technology teams that you work with are going to actually have to change the way that they do business, which means you're going to have to change the way as an Infosec professional that you do business with those teams. No longer are tech teams working by themselves. They're forming into cohesive product teams that are made up of both technical representatives and business representatives. So while the technology representatives are focused on building customer experiences through digital products and also reducing the friction that customers see in those products, the business side of the house is working on the business model behind those products and how those products are monetized. You may be thinking that this is going to increase the number of decision makers and data point, but really discovery and change is part of the digital transformation process. It's really important for senior Infosec practitioners to understand that they will need to be part of that discovery and change as organizations mature in their digital transformation journey. Obviously, I can't cover the intricate details of your particular organization, but the remainder of this episode really talks about some of the high-level points that you should consider. It also makes a lot of sense for senior cyber practitioners to begin to learn about what digital transformation is through either reading or online information. But at a really high level, digital transformation means that the organizations that you support are going to change, and you're going to have to change as a result. Traditionally, an Infosec team might be tightly focused on assessing risk and reporting current state and understanding gaps at the enterprise level. The enterprise level probably isn't sufficient for assessing risk and understanding gaps at the product level. As we'll see, assessing risk and understanding gaps at the enterprise level may not be the appropriate level of analysis to understand where your risks and gaps are at the product level. And obviously, your teams are going to be really focused on the whys of products and focused on that discovery aspect. We can't arrive late to the party. We have to engage early in the process. Because the customer experience is such a big part of digital transformation, the Infosec team is going to need to be a part of the planning, pre-production, deployment into production, and all the way through sunsetting of that particular experience for that product. Engagement is going to be a big part of how senior Infosec practitioners guide security programs through digital transformation. You're going to need to formalize engagement with all of the product team members, not just the technology team. You're also going to need to balance enforcement versus enablement. You can't become the department of no and be successful as other product team members are working through the discovery process. Senior cyber practitioners are also going to have to balance best practice versus good practice. If we think of best practice as a set of practices that apply to all organizations regardless of industry or size, and good practice as a set of practices that meet our security requirements in a way that's appropriate for our organization and perhaps doesn't apply to other organizations, then senior cyber practitioners are going to have to balance best practice with good practice. In fact, you may have to think through what constitutes good practice in a given situation in order to meet the requirements that are needed for your particular customer experience for a given product. Number two, you're going to have to identify the products that need to be secured. Because Infosec teams work historically with digital applications and systems, we may be thinking of digital products just in that particular realm. That said, you may have products within your organization, such as events or other physical interactions with customers that are supported by digital products that require the same set of thought around providing a great customer experience. If your cyber program today is focused at the enterprise level, it may be best to think about each product as being a subset of your enterprise capabilities and your enterprise security footprint. I'd suggest starting with a high-level diagram of the systems that make up your products. If you don't understand the boundaries of each product, you won't be able to ensure that you have the right security controls in place or have the right coverage for risk assessments, or even can understand what gaps you might have that are pertinent to a given product that may not be represented across your entire enterprise. Number three, you're going to need to raise your asset management game. Now, that may surprise you to hear because I often say that Infosec teams should not own digital asset management in any way. We're consumers of that information. But we're going to have to ensure that we have the necessary level of visibility into the asset management system in order to have the detail to drill down into each product. There's an old saying that you can't protect what you don't know you have. That certainly rings true at the enterprise level, but it also rings much more true at the product level. Once you have a high-level view of your footprint of your product, now you're going to have to identify the digital assets that actually comprise that product. That can be everything from systems involved, that can be applications, source code, repositories, your tools, and your governance. All of the things that apply to that particular footprint. The idea here is that you're going to build a filtered view of your product's footprint based on the digital assets that comprise that system. Even within the same organization, the filtered view of a web product, for instance, might be completely different from a mobile product. And that mobile product might be completely different from an event product. You should not have the expectation that one filtered view is going to fit all of the different products that you have within your particular organization. It's also very important to note here that application security probably isn't sufficient to cover all the security requirements that you have for a given product. For instance, if I have an event as one of my products, we may have tablets, and those tablets may be processing sensitive information that is generated
out at the event site. The analysis for what your security requirements are for events is, in that particular situation, would be larger than just the capabilities that are brought to bear by application security tools such as app vulnerability testing and pipeline controls. Number 4, you'll need to assess your product's digital assets for risks and gaps. And it's always important to understand that this is best done by assigning ownership. If you have a larger team, the ownership might be on your team. There's also the possibility for small Infosec teams that the ownership is actually someplace on the product team outside of security, but with a strict set of governance and oversight by that particular Infosec team. The responsibility of the product security owner will be to drill down into the digital asset inventory to understand risks and gaps. Much of this will be traditional work that you do at the enterprise level. So understanding the infrastructure that the product relies upon, whether that be cloud, on-prem, mobile, whatever. We can do this across the board in traditional areas such as vulnerability management, DevOps, understanding the standards and policies that apply to those digital assets, or the infrastructure that that product relies upon. So, what cloud security controls are in place or on-prem security controls are in place, depending on where the product and its source code repositories reside. Because the product teams you support are going to have to think differently, you as a senior cyber leader are going to have to think differently as well and look for opportunities to shift left wherever you can. So for instance, you're going to have to reassess your engagement model with these teams. You're going to have to ensure that you're part of planning. You're going to have to ensure that you bring automated resources into the pre-production phase so that other teams aren't waiting on you to finish their discovery. You'll have to work to self-identify areas of potential security friction that run counter to the desired desired customer experience. Now that you have a view of the digital assets that make up a given product, and you have an understanding of the desired customer experience, now it may make sense to threat model the product itself. So you may just start by asking yourself the 3 simple threat modeling questions. What are we doing? What could go wrong? What are we doing about it? Especially if discovery is a strong part of the development process, then it doesn't even need to be a very formal threat model as long as you're able to identify and assess risk in the design phase rather than after coding has begun or later. And then lastly, you're going to need to make product-specific reporting so that the product teams and executive decision makers actually have a product-specific view of the risks that you've assessed and any gaps that may exist in that particular product. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for taking the time to walk through the ways that Infosec can add value to digital transformation. I spent a lot of time on these videos, and if you found value, please like the content and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. Subscribe! No, baby. We don't need a cat here. I know you love me, baby. I know. I know. I know. You want to talk to Mike? Say hello.